ABC Local News, good morning, I'm Mark Zita. Stage 2 of the easing of coronavirus restrictions begins in Queensland today, 12 days earlier than expected. Jake Kiernan has more.
From midday today, Queenslanders will be allowed to travel anywhere within the state. Gatherings of 20 people are now allowed, while restaurants, cafes, pubs and gyms operating under a COVID-safe checklist will also be able to increase their total number of patrons from 10 to 20. Larger venues will be allowed to have more patrons if it meets the criteria. Queensland Tourism Industry Council Chief Executive Daniel Gushwind says today's announcement will bring relief for tourism operators.
It will allow us to rebuild the winter season to some extent. It will allow us to capture an enormous potential of Queenslanders wanting to travel.
The Premier announced she would consider easing border restrictions at the end of June.
Queensland Hotels Association CEO Bernie Hogan says larger venues should be open by the end of the week.
Our industry COVID-safe plan should be approved mid this week. So then by the end of this week, those larger venues will have multiple pods of 20 patrons. So, it gets to a point where some of these larger venues will be able to open.
Tweed Shire Council is warning this week's high tides could cause more salty water to flow into the region's main water supply dam. Jennifer Huxley reports.
Higher than expected tides caused by a sea level anomaly dumped about 15 million litres of salt water into the Bray Park Weir last week. The salty water, which is heavier than fresh water, was contained within a deep depression of the Weir and didn't affect water supply quality. The council's manager of water assets, Anthony Burnham, says he's concerned this month's high tides, which start on Wednesday, could cause bigger issues. The council's been working to identify a solution since a major overtopping event shut down water production for 2 days in August 2017.
Volunteers in the search for missing Belgian backpacker Theo Hayes say they won't give up until they find answers. Yesterday marked the 1-year anniversary since the 18-year-old vanished during a night out in Byron Bay. The New South Wales Coroner's Court has confirmed it will hold an inquest into the teenager's disappearance. Byron Bay resident George Healy says it's an emotional time for everyone involved in the search.
In the last week especially, it's all coming back up again, and every time you go for your walk along the lighthouse and you're looking across the land that you were searching, you just see Theo's face in your mind's eye all the time. And then you see Laurent and Vinciane and JP and Lisa, the whole family, and I wish there was more we could do,
12 new coronavirus cases were recorded in Australia yesterday, and over 7,000 people have been diagnosed since the outbreak began. Amber Jacobs reports.
6 new infections were confirmed in Victoria yesterday, including 2 linked to the family outbreak at Keilor Downs in Melbourne's northwest. The cluster has now grown to 13 cases. An outbreak connected to the Ridges Hotel on Melbourne's Swanston Street has grown to 7 after a security guard tested positive. New South Wales confirmed 3 infections. All are returning travellers in hotel quarantine. Western Australia also reported 3 new cases, including a 3-year-old child. There are less than 500 active infections Australia-wide, and 103 people have died.
There will be no new commercial water bottling in rural areas of the Tweed Shire. The New South Wales government has made changes to a local planning document effectively banning the expansion of new water bottling facilities. Tweed Water Alliance spokesperson Pat Miller says it's a significant change.
The Tweed Shire Council will not approve any development applications that seeks to create any new industry. However, the slight stumbling block is there are 4 operators and 1 waiting in the wing who winding back will be quite difficult.
Thousands of rural firefighters in Queensland who still don't hold a blue card have been given a reprieve, with the Emergency Services Minister extending the deadline. Amy Sheehan has the details.
Queensland rural firefighters were given until May 31st to apply for a blue card or risk being removed from their brigades. There are still almost 5,000 members who haven't applied for a card. Minister Craig Crawford has announced they'll have until next fire season to obtain one. OBOB First Officer Graham Belgian says most volunteers objected to the government's big stick approach.
No card, no job, no exception. As soon as I read that got my back up.
He believes rural firefighters shouldn't need a blue card because they don't work with children for more than 7 days in a calendar year.
A mostly sunny day on the Gold Coast with a top of 25 degrees. The chance of fog to north early this morning and a chance of a thunderstorm this evening. You've been listening to ABC News.